Hi guys. I hope everyone's doing well. This video is going to be all about energy. So let's title our notes energy. Okay. So what when I say the word energy, what do you think about? Maybe you think about putting gasoline in your car and that gives your car energy. Maybe you think about food, and so we eat food to get energy. And so that's what I'm going to focus on today is just how there are different kinds of energy and how living things need energy to live and where we get that energy and in what form it takes place. So first, I just want to point out that there are two types of energy. There is one energy that is called potential energy. Whoops, what happened here? So two types. The first type is called potential energy. And what potential energy is something, could be anything, that holds energy that has the potential to do something, okay? To do work is what we say. And so potential energy essentially means stored energy that can do work. Okay? That could do work. Whoops, sorry. So it has the potential to do work. Okay, and that brings us to the second type of energy, which is called kinetic energy. And kinetic energy is energy that is moving. So anything in motion, anything doing work is called kinetic energy. So I'm going to say energy in motion. Okay, and so this is like a physics concept, and it applies to everything. It applies to non-living things, and it applies to living things. This class is biology, which means we focus on living things, so we're just going to focus on living things. Um, but I just want you to know that this can apply to non-living things too. And so let me show you some pictures, and I just want you to think about what type of energy does this picture represent? Okay, so let's see here. Hang on, I'm looking for my pictures. Here it is. Okay, what type of energy is this? So this is a picture of a dam, and this is a man-made dam. There are some animals that make dams like beavers, but this is a man-made dam, and it's holding the water, okay? And so the dams are made to produce energy, and so in this picture, what does this represent? The answer is potential energy. And so by holding the water, it has potential energy to move, okay? And as we let the water out, it's going to be moving, and then it's going to change to kinetic energy, okay? And then we can harvest that energy and use it to like produce electricity, for example. Okay? So let's look at another picture. What type of energy is this one? So this is a picture of a waterfall, and you can see that the water is moving, which means that this represents kinetic energy. So over here on the left, you have water that is not moving. So that's potential energy, and it's held up by a dam, which could be released. And then in here, this is a picture of water moving, going downhill. That's kinetic energy. Okay, let's do a couple more. Okay, here's a picture of, I don't know if you've ever done this. I have not, and I never want to. I don't even have the desire. But this is a girl who's in a plane and she is about to jump out to do some skydiving. So, is she representing potential energy or kinetic energy? So, she is representing potential energy. So, she is sitting up really high. She's about to fall down, and that represents potential energy. Okay, so when you hold a ball up high, so I'm holding my pen up here. This is my stylus that I used to write. See? Um, so if I hold it up here, it has potential energy. And then as it falls, it's kinetic energy. Okay, so as I bring it up, I'm adding potential energy. Okay, so here's the maximum amount of potential energy. Now it's like releasing energy through motion. Okay, so let's do a look at one more. What type of energy is this? Okay, so here is a wrecking ball that just smashed through a building. Okay, and so this is an interesting one to think about. Um, so let's say this is the wrecking ball here, my pen, my stylus. And so as it comes up, at this point, it's got potential energy, but as it moves down, it's doing kinetic energy. Okay, so at this point, it has the most kinetic energy. And then as it comes up, it's building back up the potential energy. Up here it has potential energy. Then as it moves, is kinetic energy. And so that energy has a lot of force on it, which is why a wrecking ball can like smash through something. Okay. Okay. So there are some examples of the two types of energy that I want you to think about. Um, the last thing that I want to do before I end this video is I want to show you some chemicals, some biochemicals that have potential energy that can be used for kinetic energy. And when we say kinetic energy in biology, what that means is to live. So you need energy to live, which means you need energy to breathe, to move, to reproduce, to think with your brain. All the things that require living needs energy. Okay. And there are chemicals in your cells that hold energy. So I'm going to give you two different examples, maybe three different examples of molecules that hold energy. So the first molecule that I want to introduce you to is ATP. Okay, and so ATP is the most important energy containing molecule. And so this molecule is essentially potential energy in your cells ready to go when you need to do anything. Okay, so when you're going to live your life, you are using ATP. And if you're going to do something kind of strenuous, like for example, go for a run, you need to generate more ATP. Okay, so your cells are constantly making like a baseline amount of ATP for your basic metabolism just to live and eat and breathe. And then if you do something extra, like go for a run, you're going to generate more ATP, okay, which is very good for you. So you should definitely run. Okay, so this is what ATP looks like. And I'm going to tell you the long name, which stands for adenosine triphosphate. Okay, and so this is what the molecule looks like. And we're going to draw it too. So the first part is called the adenosine. And so the adenosine is made up of, we're going to draw it like kind of flip-flopped so that you could just see it in two different ways. The adenosine part of the molecule is this adenine, which is the same nitrogenous base that you see in DNA. So we made DNA out of nucleotides. One of the nitrogenous bases was A, which stands for adenine. And so that's the same adenine that we see here. Okay, so I'm just going to put an A for adenine. And then I'm going to attach that to a ribose sugar. And so the ribose sugar looks like this. And so if this should look familiar to you because a nucleotide has a base, which is seen here, A, then it has a sugar, and then it has a phosphate group. Okay, so this is a nucleotide. But this is a very important molecule that's just one nucleotide, not many. And the adenine and the ribose sugar together stands for adenosine. Okay, you don't have to know that. All you have to know is that we have an adenosine. I'm just going to circle the whole thing. This is what it looks like. And that is attached to 3 phosphate groups. Okay, so I'm going to draw it like this, 3 phosphate groups. And so that's where the triphosphate comes from. Tri meaning 3, phosphate meaning phosphate group. So we have an adenosine, which is made up of an adenine and a ribose sugar, and that's attached to 3 phosphate groups. So that's all you have to know. And this is a molecule that has some stored energy in it. Okay. And in your cells, you are generating ATP all day long, your whole life. Okay. And like I said, if you need extra energy, you make more ATP. So the energy in this molecule is held in this bond right here. Okay. So this is where the energy is at. And so the energy is stored in this chemical bond, which is a covalent bond between these 2 phosphate groups. So when your cell needs some energy, what's going to happen is this bond here is going to break and it's going to release energy. Okay. Sorry, my board is getting kind of crazy here. Okay. So that bond is going to break. It's going to release energy. And then what we're going to have is we're going to have an ATP molecule with one less phosphate, which is called ADP. Okay, so ADP is an adenosine attached to a ribose sugar, which means it is adenosine. Okay, so I'm just going to redraw this. So this is the adenosine, and that is now going to be only attached to 2 phosphate groups. And so ADP stands for adenosine diphosphate. Okay, and so this molecule um, lost its energy. Okay, when you lose that phosphate group, you use that energy to do something. So to do kinetic energy, which right now I'm talking and writing and thinking. And then so now to, to get the potential energy back, you're going to have to add another phosphate group, which we do. You add a phosphate group, and then we'll go back to ATP. Then we're going to lose a phosphate group for energy. Then we'll go back to ADP. So this chemical reaction goes back and forth all day, okay, inside our cells. And this is a dehydration reaction and a hydrolysis reaction. Okay, so when you break that bond, that's hydrolysis. When you put a new P on here, that's a dehydration reaction. Okay? Okay, so that is a very important chemical reaction. The last thing that I want to talk about is this other type of reaction. Okay, it is called a redox reaction. And this is 2 reactions. It's called a reduction and a oxidation. Okay, so this redox reaction means 2 reactions. It means a reduction, which is this RED here, and there's another reaction that happens at the same time called an oxidation. Okay, so let me write this down and let me show you an example. Okay, a reduction reaction is when a electron is added. Okay, a reduction reaction is when an electron is added. Okay, when it's added to a molecule. When an electron is added to a molecule, it's called a reduction. And I want to say that this is a chemistry concept. In biology, because hydrogen atoms have just one electron, when a hydrogen is added, we call that a reduction. Okay, so I'm going to write this in a different color. I'm going to say in biology, a reduction is when a hydrogen is added. Okay. So I'm going to okay, and let me explain the oxidation before I show you the example. Okay, the opposite happens, and that's called an oxidation. reaction. Okay, so oxidation is when a electron is removed. Is removed. Okay. Okay, and so in biology, what this means in oxidation is when a hydrogen is removed. So let me write that down. In biology, an oxidation is when a hydrogen is removed. Okay, and so this is a chemistry concept, but in biology, we are always dealing with carbons and hydrogens and oxygens, and so hydrogens are kind of electron carriers. So when a hydrogen's coming, it's bringing an electron with it. When a hydrogen's leaving, it's taking an electron with it. Okay, and so let me just show you a little cartoon picture. Um, I'm just going to say that this is a molecule, and I'm just going to name it A. Okay, it could be any molecule. It could be a big piece of DNA, it could be a big lipid or a carbohydrate, it doesn't matter. But let's say we have a molecule A and a molecule B. Okay, there I'm just making up generic terms. And let's say A has an electron. Actually, I'm just going to say A has a hydrogen on it. And let's say that this hydrogen goes from A to B. Okay, so let me just write, and this arrow represents that there was a chemical reaction that occurred. Okay, so we had A and B. The hydrogen went from A and it went to B. Okay, so what has happened is A lost a hydrogen, which means it was oxidized. Okay, so I'm going to write this down here. I'm going to say A was oxidized and B was reduced. Oops. Okay, so whenever a hydrogen is leaving, it has to go somewhere. So there's always another molecule that's going to take it. So there's always like a giver and there's always a taker, which is why these reactions always happen together, which is why we call them redox reactions, because a reduction always is paired with an oxidation. So A was oxidized, which means it lost the hydrogen, and B was reduced because it gained the hydrogen. One trick of remembering these reactions is this. Okay, let me show you a picture. Okay, so I just want you to remember this picture. Do you see what that is? It's a lion. Okay, so the way you're going to remember these reactions is this sentence. Leo says, Leo the lion says, grrr, G-E-R. Okay, Leo says, grrr. So Leo means loss of electron is oxidation. Okay, and then Ger means gain of electron. Let me just put it up here. Gain of electron is reduction. Okay, so there's a concept for you. Okay, I just want to introduce you to a specific molecule because this is what we need to know to learn about a big process I'm going to talk about in a couple videos from now. There is a molecule that is called NAD. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of a reduction reaction and some molecules involved in the reduction reaction. Okay, so there is a molecule called NAD, and NAD is an electron carrier. And so what NAD does is it picks up hydrogens and drops off hydrogens, okay? So NAD can be added to a hydrogen, and then we get what is called NADH, okay? This is a reduction reaction. NADH can then lose its hydrogen, so NADH can then lose its hydrogen and go back to being NAD plus a hydrogen that's loose. This is an oxidation. Okay, so this is a reduction and this is an oxidation. And I'm only introducing this because we're going to see this in the future. And I just want you to know that NAD is a molecule whose only job is to pick up hydrogens and drop off hydrogens. So it picks up a hydrogen here, it moves to another location, drops off a hydrogen here. When it is in this form, it has potential energy, okay? It has potential energy. And then when it loses its hydrogen, it's giving off some energy. Okay. And so we're going to go through this whole process in the future. It's going to need some energy and it's going to be picking up hydrogens and dropping off hydrogens for the point of generating energy. Okay. Okay. That's it for this video. I hope you're having a great day and I'll see you next time.